going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of JaAR. JaAR, for those of you that may be new, stands for Joe
and Amy
Review. This is our weekly show where we review the Magic stories, and it's weekly when we don't have pressing things that occurred. Sorry about last week, but also, welcome back. Make sure, by the way, that you are subscribed and have that bell rung so that if we mess up and something isn't out or comes out later than it usually does, you'll still get notifications whenever a video comes out. That's really important, and you don't want to miss it. Also, you can find out exactly when we are live every Monday and Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on this channel. Mondays for MTG Arena and Fridays for video games in general. This Friday in particular, the day after this video comes out, we will be continuing Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. It's actually possible that we finish the game this week. So we will see. And if so, if you're watching this after the fact, then we will be moving on to Tenkaichi 3. So to finish up that series of 6 games. So thank you to any and all of you who tuned in, I guess I should say, for any of those. And if you missed any of the VODs, there's another channel of ours called Video Games for All, linked down in the description box below. But enough waffling on. That's not why you're here. You're here to hear about Ob Nixilis again. And that is the Retaliation of Ob Nixilis specifically. Because that is the story that we are reviewing this week. Because we are reviewing the Battle for Zendikar / Oath of the Gatewatch stories. We are definitely officially into Oath of the Gatewatch at this point. And the reason that we did that was we were inspired by our returning to Zendikar in Zendikar Rising. And we've been kind of interspersing these throughout regular set release stories as they come out. Although we are not, it seems, getting stories for adventures in the Forgotten Realms for the Dungeons and Dragons set, although we are in the story tab getting like little mini D&D adventures, it seems. As of the time of recording, we have 2 that are released already. I think it is cool. It's definitely not something that we can really review.
No.
Maybe someday we'll play them. I highly doubt it. Like, there's a lot that's got to go into like getting enough people together.
Do they seem like long, like regular, like long form D&D games, or do they feel like one shots? I haven't read any of them yet. Okay. It does mention that it is for X number of players, level 8, level 8. So it's going to take a while to like make your characters, level them up enough, and like so it's going to take at least a session 0, which would be a while, and then even if it is a one-shot, it's going to be hours of a one-shot, which is going to be either a long evening or a long weekend day. So we would have to see, we'd have to, you know, pull some people together. It's a long shot that it happens, but I would love it, of course. So it's a long shot, one shot.
God damn it. Nicely done. If you were upset by that, you're more than welcome to come into our chats when we're live and throw puns at this one, because she loves it.
I hate it so much.
So if you want retaliation, come on in. Like I said, every Monday and Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll see you there. But anyway, we are here to review The Retaliation of Ob Nixilis by Kimberly Kreines and Nick Davidson.
Kimberly Kreines.
And Nick Davidson.
I miss her.
Yeah, don't we all? Anyway, so my quick review at the beginning is this was great, and you should go read it. It was a really good time. Like, the stuff with Ob Nixilis, phenomenal. Really, really good. And that's to take nothing away from Kimberly and how she did the Nissa stuff either, because that was also great. Amy, your thoughts?
My quick review is this is easily one of my favorite stories.
Cool. Okay.
You must read this. Don't skip it and just listen to what we have to say about it, because I don't have a lot to say about it. It's just great. Yeah, I have a short bit of notes here for it. I will say, though, based on that recommendation and my statement, if it is something that you are interested in reading and haven't done in a while, because don't forget, yes, they're older, and if you've watched any of these videos before, which, by the way, if you haven't, playlist right up there at the top, you can go watch all of these that we've done so far and go read any of the stories that you want to read because of that. But that includes this one, and this one, if you want to go read it,
top link down in the description box below. There are a lot of important links there for you. Feel free to go check them all out, but the top link will take you to this story because, let me tell you, at the time of recording, even though it was fixed recently, like yesterday, thank God I remembered the name of the story. If you were to go to just the story tab on Wizards' website, it's broken and you can't get to these stories at the time of recording.
Right.
We alerted Wizards to that fact, and it seems like they had fixed it. Like I said, as of yesterday, it was working, and we had told them about it prior to yesterday. And then today, when we went to go check it again, it wasn't working. But because I knew the title of the story, it's still able to be accessed. So you could just search the Retaliation of Nixilis, or like I said, the top link in the description will take you right there without fail. So don't worry about that. But yeah, don't try to go through the story tab. It won't necessarily work depending on when they have come in to fix it or not.
Right.
But yeah, so we encourage you to go do that, and then we would love it if you would come back here and join us in our review, because as Amy said, there's not a ton to say about this. You just need to feel the effect of it for yourself.
Right.
But if you've been watching, I guess onto the full review itself. If you've been watching these reviews over the last few episodes that we've done, they're all a theme. And that is that they're all focused on the same chain of events. Notably, a very important chain of events for this particular story, but a chain of events nonetheless. And that's why, like, in this story of, I don't know, 10 different pieces of art, 3 of them, maybe 4, had not been in a Battle for Zendikar / Oath of the Gatewatch story yet.
Right.
And all of the other ones were. All of the other ones were. That's not necessarily to say that that makes it bad, because I said, I will make a comment though, I said a few weeks ago that it was getting a little repetitive. Mm-hmm. And that's perfectly fair, and I still agree with that to a degree, but I will say that I think that Kimberly and Nick did a great job here of doing what I talked about a few weeks ago, which I think was in the last Nixilis story, where I talked about the fact that when Nixilis presented, from his perspective, the story of what was happening to the gate, or to, they're not the Gatewatch yet, but to Jace and Nissa and Gideon and the Zendikari, he did it in a very cold fashion because he's a demon.
Right.
And he doesn't care.
Nope.
And so, while he's doing it, to us, it's like all light and playful and cute.
Yeah.
But I said, there's a motorcycle outside, I apologize, he's an asshole and there's nothing we can do about it. So I do apologize if you hear it. And if you don't, I'm just ranting and raving about somebody that's you can't even hear. But anyway, I mentioned that when Nixilis is talking about it, it's like this light, jovial thing, and it's funny when you're reading it, or, you know, the way that he's presenting it, it's like somewhat comical and lighthearted.
Yeah.
It's not. And this story hammered that home for me 1,000,000%. The beginning of the story, the Nissa part of the story, is sad as shit.
Right.
It's so sad.
It's heart-wrenching.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, and it makes you, if you are the type of person who, when you read a story, you like empathize with the character that you're reading about, it's like you feel helpless and hopeless, because you're like, what are they gonna do? Like,
right.
What do they do at this point? Right? Nissa's like, well, Ulamog's still not trapped anymore, but I have to kill it. And then one thing after another is thrown at her. Now she's like, you know what? Not Ulamog anymore, now Nixilis. Now I'm pissed at Nixilis. And she can't do anything about Nixilis either. It's like one thing after another, just slamming her back down further and further, to the point where even though... Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, she has to give up her connection to Ashaya and just, like, throw Zendikar away.
Yeah, push it away. To basically, like, sacrifice herself and say, right. You know what? No, I'm not going to let you step in again against this demon and right. fall. Get away from me right now, because you're not going to survive.
Right.
And if I don't survive, you're still alive, but I can't bring you in and have you fall as well.
Right.
Noble, shitty, like it's bad for her that has to happen, but that's what has to happen. And I mean, we watch...
Well, I mean, she understands and loves all of the life forms that make up Zendikar to a point where it wouldn't even come close to making sense.
Yeah.
For her to not sacrifice herself to save Zendikar.
Yep. In that moment, the other like awesome thing was Nixilis like controlling Kozilek's spawn to place themselves in between Nissa and Nixilis. And when we get to Nixilis' perspective, because that's the split, by the way, that's why this story is written by two authors, because Kimberly Kreines hasn't needed a second author. Nick Davidson hasn't needed a second author before, but there's two prominent perspectives in this story, right, in Nissa and in Nixilis. I don't know why. Just immediately forgot his name.
And they did a great job of like putting those two perspectives into one story and having it like seamlessly flow.
Yeah.
Like almost unexpectedly.
It was so good. It was so good.
So good.
And it you didn't need, like, Gideon and Jace make appearances in this story. You didn't need their perspective on any of it. It was so good with just those two. And I'm sure you loved the Nissa parts, and I didn't dislike the Nissa parts, but my God, the Nixilis parts, I was drooling. They were so good.
I loved both. And I think it was imperative to have both authors on this.
Yes.
Because I don't think Kimberly Kreines could have stepped out of Nissa enough to have done such amazing work with Nixilis. And I don't think the opposite either.
Nick Davidson, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was, I totally 100% agree. And having nothing to do with these authors' abilities one way or another, it's just that they have...
It's about a love for the character that they're writing.
Yeah, well, right, and a familiarity with that character as well,
right,
because of how much time and energy they've put into prior stories of these two, right? The Nixilis perspective perfectly mirrored the last Nixilis story that we read a few episodes ago.
Right.
2 or 3, whatever it was. So well done.
Yeah, and it was written in such a way. Demons are a thing that you have encountered in many types of media, and there are lots of times where I have felt that I don't think a demon really would do that. Or they go like a little bit too much to the playful side, so it's like not quite evil enough. Or they go like super, super evil, so there's no like funny playfulness.
Right, it's just, you're just like, why am I reading this? This is bad.
Yeah, yeah, like it just... I feel like they did a great job of capturing what a demon actually would say, do, feel, because you got a sense of what he felt from what was written here.
Yeah.
In a way that a lot of other properties that I've encountered in my life have not really been able to convey when it came to writing a demon.
Sure.
I didn't get the sense of what they were feeling. It was just like, okay, I'm being told what they're thinking, and this is their experience, and it's a little off kilter or whatever. But like, this was a really, really good, in my opinion, depiction of the wholeness of a character.
Sure.
But also it's a demon.
Yeah.
And I just feel that a lot of other depictions of demons that I've encountered in the past just never got there.
Okay.
And I feel like that's probably just because the person writing it couldn't get there, because a demon was just so different from who they were.
Right. And Ob here gets to be smart, he gets to be skillful, he gets to be insightful into the people that he's fighting against. He also gets to be sarcastic and a jerk, and all these other things. But
we get to see what he enjoys.
Yes.
We get to see what challenges him.
Yeah. The nice thing is, it's a really good way to have a contrast in this story. We talked about the Nissa part being heartbreaking and hopeless. Right. And then Ob Nixilis comes in and it's hilarious again. And lighthearted, and where he's making it's still
intense.
Sure. Well, because again, as long as you can keep that perspective of, he's talking about Jace and Gideon. So we know those two. They're important to us as characters. Mm-hmm. And yet to him, he doesn't really give a damn, right? He has opinions about Gideon, right? And I wrote that Ob Nixilis sizing up Jace and Gideon is hysterical. Yeah. Thinking about them and their abilities and talking about them, and when he first meets Gideon, this guy's square-jawed and handsome by most, good-looking by most metrics or whatever. Right. And then he's like, is he actually using a Searle? I haven't seen that in forever. And those people are incredibly skilled, or they die laughably quickly or something. Right. It was just so well done of taking these characters that you want to be heroic and literally mocking the fact that Gideon's a hero.
Right.
Literally mocking it in the story, in the lines, in the text. Great. Super well done. Because it's immediately after, or a few paragraphs after, we have one of our other heroes seemingly falling and failing in her mission, right. Pushing away her friend, sacrificing herself. And so you feel this desperation, right? I mean, obviously, the fortunate or unfortunate thing, depending on how you want to look at it, is if we were reading this story, if it were released today, and we were reading it, Gideon could be dead and Nissa could be dead.
Yeah.
At the end of this story. They could be.
They could be.
He held Gideon's face down underwater until his body stopped flailing around, and then he flipped him over, said, "Your battle's done," and walked off. The last you see of Nissa is Nissa fading away into the distortion of Kozilek.
Right. The thing is, that would have been, I feel like, more suspenseful for me, but I know that they're both alive still.
But that's what I'm saying. So it's either fortunate or unfortunate. Yeah. Yeah.
In the moment, not knowing the future. What a great ending.
Yeah. Having to wait another week for the next story to be released to find out what happened.
I'd be biting my nails.
And again, the benefit of hindsight and all that, Gideon will never die. So it's fun. But yeah, that was really, really good. And I have to say, overall, the descriptions of just everything phenomenal.
Incredible.
There was a moment in the story where Nissa is focusing on Ob Nixilis, and only on Ob Nixilis, and yet Kozilek is in the background messing up everything. The descriptions in that section, phenomenal.
Right.
The fights with Ob Nixilis versus mainly Gideon. The detail and the description of the fight, and he did this to me, and I did this, and I jumped over him, and I was able to get in here, and I feigned and attacked this way, but then I attacked this way. He wrapped around my leg, he broke my knee, all of those, such detailed descriptions of this fight, and that's why I was saying you get to really hear Ob Nixilis's expertise in that moment.
Yeah.
He's talking about these fights, and he's like, oh, well, okay, he's trying to do this, but I go up and do this. You even mentioned at some point that it sounded like...
he was in love
with Gideon. Yeah.
I think that's because we got to see a demon enjoy being challenged by something he didn't expect to be challenged
Yeah,
by.
he really did start it off by being like, oh, whatever, I'm going to do this and it's going to be over. And then he was like, ooh, I kind of like this guy. Right? Like, that's amazing. That's so cool. So, yeah, I had a lot of love for the Nixilis section. And I find it hard to say that I loved the Nissa section because it made me feel so sad. But because it was able to make me feel so sad...
That's what makes it great.
Exactly. So...
Yeah, for me, it's just like, this story was so good. I mean, like you said, the descriptions, it's hard for me to pick out anything because it was just so consistently good throughout.
Yeah.
Suspenseful from beginning to end. I mean...
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Yep. I don't know that I had a ton more to say about this. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I really don't either. Other than I fucking love this. Read this story.
It's very
Even if you don't read most of the other ones, even if you don't read any other ones, I recommend you read this story.
Also, I may have misspoken at the beginning of this video, so I want to correct myself. Next week, for our stream on Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, it's not going to exist. Just FYI.
Oops.
And why, you may ask? Well, because it's pre-release weekend. And because, and we mentioned this in other videos of ours, we are super, super fortunate here in New York, here in the United States. We are able to be vaccinated. We are able to be in an area where our local game store, our sponsoring game store, is able to hold events again with people in person for the pre-release. And we are super looking forward to getting to that event as safely as possible.
Right.
And so in doing so, we are making our triumphant return to pre-releases and our triumphant return to our sponsor store. If you have not been with us for a pre-release before, if you've seen any of the videos on the channel, I kind of like pre-release packs. I can literally see 2 of them on this table right now. If you are interested, Friday night, stay tuned to this channel. Subscribing and ringing that bell is super important because I can't promise you what time because it's going to be kind of on the fly.
Right.
But we are going to get pre-release packs. We are going to open those pre-release packs live at not the midnight pre-release, but at a pre-release at a sponsor store that is going to be open for the event with players live there opening kits as well. We will be filming some of those openings or some of those cards that people open. We'll be filming openings ourselves, and we will work as hard as we can to get those videos out to all of you as quickly as possible. So instead of being on stream live on Friday, you're going to get 2 different videos Friday night. So stay tuned for that on this channel. That's next Friday, the 16th of July. Not this Friday. We will be live this Friday as usual. Like I said, possibly finishing up Budokai Tenkaichi 2, which would actually make perfect sense that we then take a week off before we start 3.
Right.
So maybe it actually works out that way. Who the heck knows?
That would be great.
Right? We didn't even plan it that way because we've been doing this for weeks and weeks. How the hell would we have planned it? Hey, sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. We'll have to see. But that is going to be the end of this particular episode of JaAR. I want to thank everyone so very much for watching. I really do hope everybody enjoyed. Hey, I mentioned it earlier. We have other channels too. You can check down in the description box below. We hope that you'll enjoy them. We're doing insanely awesome things over on Video Games for All. We're playing through Pokemon Silver. We are playing through The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Amy's first time playing through both of those games. And a blind playthrough of an indie game, I guess you could call it, Beglitched, which was a hell of a surprise for us with how much we enjoyed that game.
Loved it.
So I encourage you to go check that stuff out. We've got other series on that channel that have already completed that you should go check out, and you should check out Gluten Free for All as well. Both links down in the description box below. And subscribe and ring the bell anywhere and everywhere. We really do appreciate it. It helps us out and it helps you out as well to find out whenever videos come out on any of our channels. So please don't forget, hopefully we will be back here next week with a continuation of this series, but whenever we are back, we hope that you will join us because when we read stories like this, we want to hear from all of you. Down in the comments below, do you agree with our assessment? Do you disagree? Are there things that you'd forgotten? Letting us know all of those things.
How good the old stories were.
We don't have to make it sad. It's a good thing. These are great. And you can go back and you can read them when the site works. Or when you watch our videos and check the links down in the description box below. The top link, don't forget. But coming back here and having that conversation with us in the comments and with your fellow commenters is a great way for all of you to join us as we show off our...
#Vorthos Pride.
We're here, we ain't going away. Doesn't matter. Even though there aren't D&D stories necessarily for the D&D set, there are D&D campaigns. Check those out if you're interested. We're not sponsored to say anything, but, you know, it seems kind of cool. I'll check them out if I have some time. And, you know, if we can ever get enough people together digitally or in person to try them out, maybe we will. Who knows? It's going to be a while, though, so don't hold your breath. But... for now, from us here at the Geek for All family of channels, I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.